Hello everyone, I'm Braun Mithra. I'm here with Adam Poots. Hooray! Thank you so much for doing this again. I know it was a great interview last year from you.
It was fun.
Yeah, but thank you so much for joining me again. Real excited. I know everyone loves to watch these. I got tons of feedback on it last time.
Cool.
So I'm going to do much better this time.
Okay.
I won't bring it down as much. So everyone really enjoyed it. I got all kinds of comments. Everybody was so thankful for your time. Again, I just want to thank you so much for your time to do so. Thank you for making time for me to be able to do this again.
Of course. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Big year.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, big year. Much less stressful, which is big good news for me.
Yeah, you got all Gambler's Chest. When I was here last time, I hadn't even gotten mine yet. So now
That's right.
Everybody's gotten it.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
Excellent.
Couldn't have been better. I love playing it. Really
Maybe
good.
if it arrived a year or two earlier, though, that'd have been nice.
Yeah, but speaking of, the two doggos came right after it.
They did.
So, I know there was a little bit of hiccup with the frog dog.
Yeah.
Cardback coloring, wasn't that what it was? I forget what it was, but other than that, really good. We got Showdown board as well.
Yeah.
So, huge difference between last year where I had gotten nothing, and now I've gotten too much.
There's a lot more on the way.
Yeah.
A lot more.
A lot more on the way. So, I just have some questions. Would you like to spend some time with me in the world of Kingdom Death?
Always.
Always. We're backed up here by Iron Hands. It is much smaller than I expected it to be. So everyone said that last time, I know we did took a bunch of community questions and everything. Everybody really enjoyed when the two of us just talked and we spent time in Kingdom Death.
Let's go.
So let's go as far back as we can.
Okay.
Are you ready to talk about Adventures into the Abyss?
The original name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, even some of it.
The Discord, you've got it there. Yeah, the little old school logo.
Yes. We
had to move away from skulls though. Those are copyrighted, so we do stone faces now. No skulls.
But Adventures into the Abyss.
Yeah.
That was the original passion project.
Yep.
That started because of your undying love for Warhammer Quest. And
That's right.
many games like it.
Yep.
The Choose Your Own Adventure Path, Dungeon Crawly-esque. There's other games like it, Hero Quest.
Players versus the system.
Yes. That part stayed.
Yeah.
But originally there was character classes and things.
Yep.
We're going to explore all those. Okay. So there were 5.
I spent so long, this is again, pre-Kingdom Death Monster, making papercraft character books that had, use this little machine called the Crocodile to put in rivets so that the stats could be spun around. Okay. And I had this whole one of those children's books that has all the paper mechanics. Yeah. That was going to be the book you use for each character. That was the initial thought.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like philosophy then.
A little bit. And then I thought that, the book would also have slots for cards that you'd put in, so you could have your equipment there and have all your skills there. Yeah. And I spent ages making these things that then I could never find anyone who could fabricate it, and things changed so much anyway. But they were making me think of the old times. So
we're going to spend
then it was
a lot
just
of time.
Me and a fat cat. That's all there was.
So we'll start. Probably, I'm going to guess this is where it all started. We're going to talk about Twilight Knight. Yeah. Because Twilight Knight was originally, it was the heroic class of the game, right? He was the hero in the world of the setting. Yeah. Alistair. Yep. And then it was, I think you mentioned it started its homebrew for Warhammer Quest, right? The original.
The model was a model that was used for Warhammer Quest, but it wasn't there wasn't a custom rule set or anything. Oh, okay. It was just a model I thought was cool.
Was it yours? Was it your character?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's where it all started. Then Twilight Knight evolved into the Abyss, being I'll check my notes.
Yeah, check it out.
But
He's gonna edit that out.
The Twilight Order and everything.
Yep.
So Twilight Knights, they're protected the recorded knowledge of humanity.
Yes.
And this is, they're now in shambles. The Twilight Knights, with their partner archivists, that book that the archivist carries is, and what the Twilight Knight and the pairing represent, was a struggle to keep what's left of the shambles of humanity.
Yeah.
In a world where history's constantly erasing itself.
Yes.
And originally, you had the watches were called book wraiths.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's kind of just a quick name for them, you know.
Yeah, is it like that's was representative of eating the Grand Library and all that? They're like book wraiths and all that.
Yeah.
So
the initial thought was, wouldn't it be cool? And again, this is all under the vise of high fantasy as we knew it. Dark fantasy hadn't taken the huge rise that it has now. There are only a few little specks of dark fantasy to reference then. But wouldn't it be cool if you're, lost to the forest and you meet a monster that eats your map?
Yes.
It's kind of like I haven't seen that happen in a generic fantasy setting at this point, so that would be cool.
Yeah.
And that was just like one of the initial seeds of the idea.
Yeah.
And then he changed a lot once I started working on Monster, and it was like, okay, well, how does this affect a civilization, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So sticking with how much of like the order is still left in the game? Because I know we have the Hooded Knight and stuff that did carry over to Monster, and Alistair carries over.
Yeah.
And we got a hint of in Plenium.
Yeah.
With the original Alistair and Lori.
Yeah.
So how much of that is coming back, or how much is still hidden in the Monster game?
How much in terms of like quantity? Like how many are there?
The idea of the Grand Library and all.
Oh, it's still all there.
And the Holy Lands and all that.
There's a story event in the Red Witch expansion that touches on it again.
Yep, we talked about that too.
Yeah.
So I know Twilight Knight's where it all started.
Yeah.
Now there were there's 4 remaining.
Yep.
We'll go dealer's choice here. So we had Nico as the original Whitespeaker, which was still Into the Abyss. We had Snow the Savior.
Koshka.
Oh, Koshka, yes.
With the ponytail.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we had, I thought there was one with Nico too where she's healing a Forsaker. And Forsaker. I thought there was Tomoko art of that too, where she's like over him. I don't know if
that was artwork by a guy named Bagus.
Okay.
Indonesian artist. He's the one who did the prologue for the core rule.
Okay.
And that was just kind of like poster art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was just a Whitespeaker. That is not a named Whitespeaker.
Okay.
We don't know who that is.
Okay.
Maybe we'll return to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it just looked like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of poster art, Adventures into the Abyss had like a movie poster artwork.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
That was by Joshua Dunbar. It was a really sick piece.
Have you ever thought about going back and doing another movie poster art in Monster?
I don't know. Like, it was sort of a time and a place. If we did a movie poster style, it would obviously be with the 4 Survivors, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good idea when we start drumming up for our reprint.
Okay, yeah.
We're well under 1,000 games left, so it's time to start thinking about that.
And
which is
1.6.
Yeah.
What was the 1.6 print run? We know it was 60,000 of combined 1.3, 1.5.
Initially, 1.3 was 10,000.
Okay.
The Kickstarter was 20,000.
Oh, okay.
And then I think we did another 10. And then 1.6 was, I think, another 10. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Nice.
Which is, for a little humble game, not so bad.
No, very good.
Very surreal, but yeah.
What was the 5th? I mentioned 4. So the Forsaker. Oh, and then just regular Survivor.
Well, there's also Walter the Priest.
Preacher, right?
Yeah.
Or priest. Was he?
He's a preacher.
Preacher, yeah. I did forget about him. Yeah, we'll talk about him too. I was going to save him for last because I know he's the one who doesn't transition. We'll talk about him now since we are.
Not as well.
Yeah, Preacher, nothing much. Now,
we made the pinup version of it.
Yes.
And
the Death High.
This upcoming Valentine's Day, we're planning a demake. Demake's not the right word, but we're planning a version of the Preacher, the same female character.
Yes.
That will be a wanderer.
Because well, you've used the term demake before.
Yeah.
To represent Allison, right?
Yeah.
Is when you brought Allison's.
I also used it when we were pushing out Morgan the Savior.
Yes,
but I don't think it's the right word because, like, there's nothing wrong with being a pinup.
No.
There's nothing wrong with looking like a pinup and dressing like it. These are all wonderful things, but so it's not quite the right word. We're not demaking anything.
No, yeah. We're more like canonizing it, right?
Exploring the character more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, because originally it was it Twilight Knight Reversal Allison?
Yeah, Reversal.
Because it's Alistair Allison, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when she officially became a white box.
Yeah.
In the original Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because she was included in the Pinups of Death or Echo.
1.
No, Pinups of Death 1.
Yep.
And then she became a white box.
Yeah.
So we'll talk all about that stuff too.
Sure.
So what's left of? I think in the original, not original, but one of the grand overview of the Gambler's Chest, you showed additional Wanderer crests.
Yeah.
And it looked like one of them was Preacher.
Yeah.
Is it?
She's in there.
She is.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that ready for Valentine's Day.
Oh, well, the actual Wanderer or just that sculpt?
The Wanderer.
Oh my, wow.
I'm hoping. We'll see.
Well, now you've answered the whole question I was going to ask. You're jumping ahead. The other one was Weaponsmith was the other one shown. Now she came in Gambler's Chest.
Yeah.
But is there ever the Wanderer version with her crest is still out there? Like, I'm not saying out there as an idea.
We have the crests. It would be cool to make another model of her. She's a cool character, but it's definitely more on the periphery. Like, I have to start planning much further in advance than I used to because lead times have gotten out of control. So she's not on the docket at the moment.
Okay.
But there is a Great Game Hunter Rogue.
Okay, yeah.
And a very popular Bone Witch sculpt that never quite made it out there.
You were jumping so far ahead. No, yeah, the Savage.
And ironically, I have the boxes for these Wanderers made. They were made years and years and years ago, and have just been sitting in our warehouse with no content to put in them.
Yeah, I have no doubt because when I got here yesterday, I saw Questing Lucy.
Yeah.
And I remember you had shown resin Questing Lucy.
Yeah.
Man, what was that? During the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It might have been before. I think it might have been during one of the Sacred Backer.
Yeah, I think I was painting one.
Yeah, no surprise to anyone that minis show up 5-6 years later with content.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, so dealer's choice on the remaining 4.
Okay.
We have Forsaker. We'll just go Whitespeaker in general.
Sure.
Adventurer.
Yeah.
And Snow.
So the Adventurer, like you mentioned, was the Survivor. That's like the Survivor, right?
Correct.
And all of Kingdom Death Monsters sort of like, let's explore the Survivor class.
Yeah.
Which, is a sickening thought if you were to think that every major character class would be explored to that depth.
Yeah.
I would go with not possible.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah. So they were the last ones introduced too.
Yeah.
They were the ones because not many of them have a bunch of stuff. I was able to own. It's only like the Survivor had nothing on the old listings, but the other ones talk about how to play them and all that stuff. So that's how I knew about all that. But the original concept for Survivors, where they were I know this one. They were hunted as prey, but it said they were also domesticated and stuff. Now, is that a reference to the Holy Land specifically?
Yeah.
Yes, because we know the base of the Forge God, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then,
the Forge, the Holy Land's now is incredibly problematic. It's a problematic area. And I keep wondering, I like to return back to it or take pieces from it to incorporate into Monster, and I want to stay true to the content that I wrote a long time ago, but I want to do it right so it doesn't just come across as being either too juvenile or shock value for the sake of shock value.
Yes.
But I can't portray what I want to make.
Exactly.
But it's also it's a little tricky.
I was going to talk about Holy Lands.
Yeah.
As we transition to Monster, because I know the setting has jumped, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So, what do you think's left of which one you want? Forsaker, Whitespeaker, or Savior?
Savior.
Go Savior. Okay. So originally we had Snow.
Yep.
Saviors were originally discussed as at night they enter the nightmares of everyone else around them.
They enter the dreaming.
Yeah, they enter the land of the eternal dreamer.
Yeah. And
they can explore, and they return with black suited feet when they return in the morning.
From walking around.
Or whatever the time, whatever.
Yeah. I think there was a morning in Kingdom Death at that point.
There's still some references to day-night cycle.
Yeah.
Even in the core game, but yeah. It's a shop blur. So, and it's just a natural way. It rolls off the tongue when you say when you're waking up from a dream.
Yes.
The next day, right? It's a natural thing.
Yeah.
But so when they have their black suited feet and everything, and now saviors in the game, they do the same thing. They are born, not all, but in the core game itself originally, because now there's new ways of getting saviors. But just back to the monster one specific. When that carried over to the game, when they were born, they went and they spent a lifetime in the land of the Eternal Dreamer.
Yeah.
And they fought a beast of their color. So how much of that is true to what they were going to be in Adventures into the Abyss?
I mean, it's a different expression because the gameplay is different than a typical dungeon crawl, but otherwise 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say the Eternal Dreamer, what represents that in Kingdom Death then, still to monster?
What represents it?
It's
an entity that's out there. We don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. Is it not a whale?
It was supposed to be a whale. Yeah.
Well, I think it's been shown on an Echo's card.
You're right.
Yes. The other way of getting a savior.
Yeah.
So it is one of the whales.
Yeah.
How many whales are there? There's a Nightmare.
2 so far.
Nightmare and Eternal Dreamer?
There's the one in Overwhelming Darkness. Oh, there's,
the singing whale was shown also.
I mean, again,
they might be. Are they the same?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Unless you want the lore video to be spoilery.
No, like I said, we're just gonna do this. Everyone really enjoyed it. We're gonna spend as much time today in the land of lore.
We'll just say that the singing whale and the whale and the Overwhelming Darkness may be the same whale.
Well, I mean, survivors are faulty narrators, right?
Yeah.
So you always have that lens of what they perceive and what's reality, and then you've got that sprinkle of insanity.
Yeah.
Now,
all of it's luck's fault.
That's true. So the Swag Singers and all that. Damn web feed, man.
You have someone who's so lucky, perverting luck around everyone. You start having the recessive genes come out.
Yeah. We'll get to that too. Got a lot. We're making down the list. So with the soot and everything, what is that? Is it still persistent? Is it like the black lichen? Does it still persist into Kingdom Death? Because no, the hunt event mentions it, but nothing mechanically ties to their rapid aging does to their power.
The soot in specific is an area that hasn't been fully explored yet.
Okay, so it will be returned to. It's just that we haven't.
When we move to being a little more in depth with saviors will kind of return to that.
Okay. All right.
Because then it has to deal with the terrain or whatever the transversal in the realm of the ethereal dreamer is.
Because it was mentioned, do we visit that realm again in the Super Survivors? No, Super Saviors, that's right.
Version of it, yeah.
Okay. So dealer's choice again. What do we go Whitespeakers to talk about from into the Abyss?
Yeah, we do Whitespeakers. I've been nose deep, up to my eyeballs deep in red witches, so
there we go.
It's all fresh in my mind right now.
All right. So the Whitespeakers, originally they use their blood magic to control.
They're supposed to be the healer class.
Yeah, that's especially with that armor. It looked like she was healing.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it, and it looked like they probably had some sort of magic missile or something with their. I think Nico originally also the blood magic missile.
Yes, that was sort of like Lockman being stylistic when his English was still pretty weak.
Sure.
And I was like, it looks cool enough. This is fine. We'll move forward with it.
And now, you mentioned that blood magic, I should say, is their way of manipulating the other.
Yes.
And other is a keyword. Yeah. And it appears that when a savior decides to do something, they do it through the ethereal keyword. Yeah. And so Whitespeakers do it through other. What else taps? Is there anything else currently we know taps into the other?
There's a lot of things that tap into it here and there, like the Phoenix's intestines don't exist completely in the same place the survivors do.
Okay. So, and then we'll talk a little about Red Witches. Originally, the Whitespeaker, they're a cult. Or a coven.
Yeah.
What is it? What's more? Is it like a cult, or are they like, cult? I'll attribute this to. Are they fanatical for an entity, or are they just a coven of collected witches?
They're like more of a coven. They're a cult.
More of a coven.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're similar to the Order, wherein they have a lot of knowledge about the world, but they have decided on a different way to retain that, right? The Twilight Order is more like what we traditionally expect: books, education, and the Whitespeakers through, their blood magic, if you want to call it that, and their ability to access kind of the latent layers that survivors in Kingdom Death have.
Okay.
They can, retain a lot of knowledge about the world without it making them go crazy.
Oh, okay.
And like the Ark survivors and all the stuff that happens there when they get fighting arts, all of this is related.
All right. We'll go there too.
Yeah. And like I'm trying to be careful with my words because like, again, I don't think it's a good thing for me to just drop heavy spoilers. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm happy to show where there's smoke, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, I figured, I know, because I've covered your way, I've done videos the way you like to do your storytelling, and it's very intentional.
Yeah,
that story
things have gotten tighter and tighter over the years as we continue.
And well, I mean, there's been a change, I can say too. The way that Monster presents what's happening compared to the Squire campaign and Millennium are representing what's happening. We could talk. I
love the Squire campaign. I had so much fun making it.
Yeah, the Squire campaign. That's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between let's look and then seeing more of a more reliable narrator.
Yeah.
Same
Big
with
time.
Millennium too.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it's the storytelling.
That's the kind of like, all right, let's get down there with the characters for a little while.
Oh, and it's great. So
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's more like the way that those two things explain lore, and then when you hinted for the Twilight Order within Red Witches, can't wait for that stuff. What were the two? Oh, Forsaker.
Yeah.
Last one for Into the Abyss. So with Forsaker, they were there's someone who's made some. I don't know if it said a deal exactly, or if it's they've traded their humanity in some way.
Right.
For more power.
Yeah.
And that power.
Classic trope, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Power. Classic Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That power leads.
It's like that's the Dark Knight barbarian archetype, right? Yes. The berserker. That's where that was.
Yes, and they can lose too much humanity.
Yeah.
And that represents the Butcher itself.
Yeah.
So Forsakers themselves would have been a player class.
Yeah.
So there's multiple.
I envisioned their character book, if they were a player class, as having like two different level up paths that kind of like crisscrossed.
Yes.
So you would be kind of like moving around a level up path, and there would be points where you could, go down one side or the other as it continued. And then that's just like early sketchwork stuff.
Yeah. Well, I that's what was hinted when you do the Bolt, right? No, not Bolt. See the Truth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Where you get the two different the death types, and it shows like you get created this much of it, sweet death, sour death.
And the references were about like the tastes in the survivor's mouth as they reach this epiphany. Yeah. Because I had a very real and a very stupid moment where I got to taste fear in reality, like actually taste it.
Oh my!
I was playing Clock Tower on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah, that just got remade. Oh, totally off track.
And I was a child, and we were just being so dumb, and we were so into it. And my friend's apartment that we're in, they had a weird draft, and they kept blowing his bedroom door open.
Oh my!
And like we would make the person who played sit by themselves while everyone else was like on the bed squealing. It's so dumb, but it's so magical. At one point in the game, there's all these random things that can happen to try to jump scare you. Yeah. And the fax machine goes off.
Oh my goodness.
And the fax machine says like, I'm coming to get you, or something like that. And that's, in reality, when I tasted fear, Clock Tower as a child. And it was so cool. And that's, sticks with you.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about like the moment, and you're learning more about the Forsaker and seeing the truth, like what would happen to your body, what would the, response be? And then the, flavors that came into your mouth.
Yeah. So with Into the Abyss being centered on Holy Lands and stuff.
Yeah.
And the way it was a dungeon crawling thing.
Yeah.
And now I know we've glossed a little bit over it. Nothing that's coming now is. It's just we're not probably going to go back to there anytime soon. I can understand the difficulty in doing it.
It's also because we have so many things that we promised that we have to finish developing.
And the setting there is probably a whole core game in itself.
If it were, depending on how it was expressed,
Yeah.
you know, we could probably pull out the Forge God and make an armor set for it. But, you know, I haven't decided how I want to revisit all that stuff yet, because we have all these excellent sculpts.
Oh yeah,
they're beautiful.
Looks amazing, the new
all
remaster.
old hand sculpts, you know, like just gorgeous stuff. The High Priests were some of my favorites. Yeah.
And now
we got the 2 blessed ones.
Yeah.
The Chosen with the awesome mullet. So cool.
Those have made it in, because we know Holy Lands is completely detached.
Yeah.
The White Lion is referenced to be that was their ground, their hunting ground and stuff.
Yeah.
Did they hunt the? What was the? There was like a miniature that was meant to be like the grunt of the
Holy Landers.
The Holy Landers.
Yeah.
That's it, duh. Was it the same deal? Mountain Lions or not Mountain Lions? White Lions just hunted Holy Landers like our survivors.
I mean, yeah, the mountain lions were part of the wilds in the area.
In the area
that the golden entity moved into.
Okay.
So they're just naturally there.
And then there was Manhunter.
Yep.
So how much was, because Manhunter was also Into the Abyss.
Yes.
He was the first showdown, I think, right?
Yeah, it was the first.
Was called the showdown.
Yeah, the first piece of artwork in the Gift of Death that had him and everyone like hiding. Yeah.
And those were the 2 farthest along probably developed monsters, Manhunter and White Lion from that game?
As far as conceptually goes?
Yeah, that made it into monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the White Knights, they're referenced, but they don't show up.
Yeah.
The Chosen doesn't show up. Wet Nurse doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Forge God doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Grandmother, awesome sculpture, also doesn't show up.
No Holy Landers show up, anything like that, right?
I think it's like they're part of the world, and I love them, and I'm excited to get to it.
Yeah.
But there's just so much of the stuff to
And you would try to do again, probably this dungeon crawl, would you return to it with a whole new idea?
I don't know.
Because I know now, I didn't know this either, but now we have the Golden Labyrinth? No, what is the name of the labyrinth? Infinite Labyrinth?
Yeah.
Is that where the Screaming God, and that's like, has Dungeon Tiles 2 attached to it?
No, it has the walls that move along the showdown, because it's a showdown on the run.
Yeah, it was the RAM that has Dungeon Tiles attached to it, yes.
The RAM is Dungeon Tiles, so does the Silver City.
Okay, yeah. Yes, Silver City, now that's a whole nother thing. So then we'll transition to Monster itself.
Yeah.
Now that it's become Monster, what was it like, lore-wise?
I'm sure I've told you this before, but do you know why Monster? Do you guys know why Monster?
Well, yeah, I think it was mentioned, well, as you mentioned, right, it's just the changing away from skulls and all that, right? It's just a different theming.
Monster was because I was trying to figure out a way to raise funds to make large boss monsters for the dungeon crawl. And I thought, all right, if I make a game about hunting monsters, then I could probably, cobble something together to make like 6 or 7 of them, and then the dungeon crawl would have these boss monsters, and I would have paid for the sculpt and paid for their tooling.
Yeah.
So the whole genesis of the project was just a way to get the monsters made, because my budget was small, and lining up the sculptors, it's just how it was.
Yeah.
But it grew tremendously.
Because originally, the first monster was Flower Knight, right? That was bridging this gap of let's make a monster to crowdfund the
maybe, yeah.
Might have been.
I can't remember the exact order off the top of my head. I'd have to look through my emails.
Yeah.
But I think the Flower Knight definitely was one of Thomas David's early works. Definitely our first monster with us. And when he saw the concept art, he was like, I have to sculpt this, please. And it was kind of like breaking through to the sculptors was so difficult. There's so few of them, and they're so talented and so sought after by the small companies at the time that it was like, kind of felt like I had to try to seduce them with evocative art.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, check
sense.
this out. Don't you want to sculpt? Like, oh yeah, I do want to sculpt that.
Yeah.
And then there was also a very long
beautiful.
waiting list. Like, I waited a year and a half for Jack to start the Phoenix.
Oh.
Just patiently waited every month, just check in, be like, I'm still excited to work on this. Let me know when you're ready. The guys are very professional. I'm super thrilled that I get to continue working with them at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the sculpts the monster sculpts do draw people in. I've heard countless times of even people buying expansions because of that, even though because I'm talking about when the game was harder to get.
Yeah.
There was like that 4-year period before 1.6 and sellout. Was it 4 years? So whatever that period was between 1.5 and sellout for 1.6 reprint. Some people would just buy like.
That was not a long period.
People told me like,
it was a year and a half.
It was a year and a half.
That's it. It was wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
But people mention like Dragon King, such a beautiful sculpt. Looks so cool. Nothing like it on other board games you're gonna see. Like that. But then, so going back to where Monster becomes more reality, and you get to play test. Go to the Kickstarter, we see demos, or not demos. We've seen you made the video of it and stuff.
Yeah.
And originally looking at that, the timelines were different and things where the. I'm talking about the actual settlement timeline. It was originally, it looked like Hooded Knight was a much more bigger thing. It had its event in Lantern Year 14, and then Lantern Year 20 was the Awaited, which was probably King. So it was what part of, how'd you do that, the cutting of, let's make this more prevalent, let's add Phoenix?
I don't think I made the timeline until like all of the monsters were made. Like, I always knew there was going to be the Phoenix because I was waiting all that time for Jack to sculpt it. And the initial lineup of monsters was based sort of like what I felt would be a good gameplay loop for, a 25 session campaign.
Yeah.
And then I wanted the Watcher to be kind of a variable at the end. At 1.3, you could fight him early for less toughness.
Yeah.
But then that ended up being problematic because once it got into the wilds and people started to play, the gameplay loop back then was hunt level 1 white lions until year 20, and then fight the Watcher as hard as possible.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's, from a pure gameplay perspective, not ideal.
Yeah.
So we had to start changing things up. Because gamers want to win.
Yeah.
So not everyone was so willing to be like, let's just see what happens. Oh, a level 3 Phoenix? That seems like a great idea. Let's give it a shot.
Min-maxing is in people's nature.
Oh yeah. Especially when the game is called, it's about survival.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you're telling me to survive, I'm gonna do it.
Yep. So when was the book race transition to Watcher?
Pretty early.
So was it still the same? It's what it was in where it eats the Grand Library, all those kind of things, and then the cocooning now in the main game and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's part of its.
That was always going to be its thing.
Yeah.
And then originally, how much was it involved with Scribe in the main game? Like, was there ever a reason to put Scribe in the main game? I know there was Lantern Festival.
The Scribe was supposed to be part of the Lantern Festival, and that was us continuing the story. It was never part of the core in particular.
Yeah.
And then I canceled the Lantern Festival because it was pulling the game in a direction that felt unnatural. And I didn't there's so much to explore within the template we had made that it wasn't ready to be brought past it yet. And there's still some artwork that I have that's unused of stuff from my initial thoughts of that era. I thought that, all right, so you beat the Watcher, man finds fire, you start, your Lantern Horde then became the Flaming Lantern Horde, and we would give people more room. Imagine the Scribe is now the new threat, and you had infinite time to grind up to fight him, and then there could be more monsters along the way. And then another thing we introduced that we have artwork for and never used was, I figured at that point the survivors may have a big enough civilization to get the attention of the great game hunters, and you could meet them in exchange for their more modern weapon. So I had that sprue of
the ballista.
Like modern warfare weapons that you'd use to hunt the bigger monsters and stuff. And the game was meant to then sort of level up into a more warband size thing. So you had like units. We experimented with units of the Watcher for the retinue, and again, mechanically, it didn't quite. It felt like it's a fine thing for the Watcher fight, but it didn't really translate outwards very well.
Yeah. Well, you got the retinues and stuff.
Yeah.
Which still really does bring to life like the whole settlement and all that.
Yeah.
Like,
but it would be weird if suddenly that was how you did everything moving forward.
yes.
And when you're just doing things on pen and paper, it seems like a pretty natural evolution. But when you sit down and play it, you're like, no, this is too transformative. This is not where the soul of the gameplay lies. So it doesn't actually make sense outside of just like a moment.
Yeah.
So that made Lantern Festival a very difficult project because it was based on the natural tech curve of like a civilization, but it wasn't based on gameplay data, seeing what people enjoyed, and also understanding what the soul of our gameplay loop was. Because, you know, that was made up before any of that other stuff existed.
Yeah. And then, so when you have, to bring it back to, because originally it was still, what was it, the Kingsman and Hands and Scribe, you know, the whole story revolved around them doing something for survivors. They were cultivating them for something. We'll talk about it. I think we'll talk about later what they might be. I think you reeled it now. But for that part, was that still always going to be Into the Abyss too? Like that? Because I know.
No.
So none of the Into the Abyss and Holy Lands different completely from what the story is. No crossover, a whole new setting, pretty much.
Well, it was focused on heroes, not survivors.
And then the Scribe always played into just mostly that group, those factions, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, like I would imagine that for some reason the heroes may need to cross paths with the Scribe, but the Scribe was definitely more of an entity that was kind of like, you know, governing what was going on with all of these encampments.
Yeah. So when the Watcher played into that, does it fit in with that faction? Is it serving a purpose for those three, for like the Scribe's ultimate goal? Is Watcher part of it, or is Watcher being used and it's just
It's being used.
Yeah, okay.
It's being used.
That makes sense.
All right, so Watcher is just being used.
Just being used.
Yeah.
It's just parasite or whatever, right? It's a blight, some sort of thing, another entity that something's just being taken advantage of.
Yeah. When I was describing the way the chamber looked to artists, I was like, imagine a pimple on the surface of an arm, and how like it has the upper part and then it has a lower part. So that's sort of like more.
Yeah, it just gestates for whatever time.
Yeah.
Is it a length of time, or is it gestating specifically off knowledge?
I would like to think it's gestating off knowledge. So if you had like, you know, a low level civilization on top of it, it wouldn't pop off.
Because there's been a long belief that innovations are garnered via your core monster.
Yeah.
Without its presence of a core monster, survivors might not be able to handle themselves. They wouldn't innovate as well without that.
Well, they wouldn't. And it's simpler than that. They just wouldn't have anything they wouldn't be able to survive. Because the Watcher is making it so most monsters instinctively go nowhere near it.
Yes.
And only like, you know, bipedal murder machines are like, whatever. Or they have the intelligence to know. Or in like
once blackout.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then so it was always like a belief that the Great Game Hunters, since you mentioned them, they're great. Are they great? They're the Great City, right?
Yeah.
That they had survived, they have outlived, they killed, and now they've survived past their core monster.
Yes.
It's the same. The Gambler kind of hints at this too.
A little bit.
And, if you don't defeat the Gambler, our survivors just die without a purpose. That's the defeat. But if you do, you prolong, and now you go on. So was that true? Is it the Great Game Hunters? Did they defeat some sort of a core monster? Is that always going to be the spark of ingenuity within survivors?
So the Great Game Hunters is like a pretty complicated expansion, or I don't know, expansion is the right word. It's a pretty complicated part of the game world.
Okay.
It's more like sort of like an experiment where entities decided to live amongst people, as opposed to just using them or ignoring them. Okay. So it's not a necessity that it started as a encampment. Oh, it's okay, somehow. It's not a necessity that started as an encampment that then continued to evolve. It could have had a completely different genesis point.
Okay. And then one final thing.
Yeah.
We'll start going for Ghost Smoke Knight enters the core game 1.5.
Yeah. I guess to explain a little further, it's kind of like within the Great City are really old entities that are deeply enjoying the politics and the shrewdness between humans.
All right.
So they're like, if there was a reality TV show, they're like the producers in the back who are telling actors to act a certain way, or when they know they can manipulate someone into doing something real for the sake of drama on TV, they do that.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about that now.
Sure.
You've explained survivors themselves as they could be floating. I think I'm going to try to remember what it is you said. They could be floating on the back of a turtle in space and not know it. They're so,
the lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, right? So
they're not floating on a turtle in space.
No,
they're not. That's not our world. But
I was just saying.
To clear it up. It's not Ring World. They're not on a giant turtle. Not happening.
Is that what you said? I don't remember.
Maybe, but just to clear it up, that's not what's happening.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say is the gap between what single entities know and what a survivor knows is vast.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is shown. So which just all right. I'm going to go to Ghost Smoke Knight, then we're going to talk about the whole world.
Sure.
I just want to stick to core so we can.
Yeah.
So with Ghost Smoke Knight then showing up, unrelated to Scribe, because he specifically wants that final answer.
The Knights are elementals. Okay. Every biome has a Knight, which is sort of like the physical creature that tries to keep that biome's harmony, right?
Okay.
So like they're the thing that tries to make sure that whatever nature intended is how it stays.
Okay.
So the Gold Smoke Knight is the elemental for the Golden Plains, which then got blighted by the Golden Entity, which came in and started to kind of take things over. And now there's Watchers everywhere, so he's going to go and, remove that thing.
Oh, so Ghost Smoke Knight, he's directly still working for Golden Entity?
No, he's not working for it at all. The Golden Entity is an invasive thing.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Directly opposed to the Golden Entity.
Directly opposed.
Directly opposed.
Yeah.
So
that's why, like in the intro story with Aya, he doesn't murk her. He just finds a person in the box and lets them go. It's similar to opening a trash can and a rat runs out. And instead of being horrified, you're like, it's kind of cute, and off it goes.
Yep. Their machinations are all. It's like a game, right? To entities, pretty much.
Yeah.
The survivors are just pawns, pretty much. They're meaningless things as to what their goals are.
Yeah.
But with okay, now you brought up Aya. There was something else. We'll talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So with Ghost Smoke Knight, the comic, the Ghost Smoke Knight comic with Aya's origin was introduced in 1.3 before Ghost Smoke Knight actually made it into the game. And originally, the finale was Gold Smoke Knight, and then in 1.5, the Hunter the one level 100 Hunter finale. It could be confusing with the name.
Finale. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. And then when 100 came, where 1.5 came,
made it Cyclops Knight.
Made it Cyclops Knight.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask about Cyclops Knight.
Yeah.
Because we're talking Gold Smoke Knight and all that. Originally, because the wording is the same, so it lended some people to think, because the wording is much the same, Gold Smoke hands out steel shield and hands out specifically steel sword. Those are very specifically the shields and swords of the Holy Land White Knights. So that's what originally led to thinking maybe because
the Cyclops Knight made those for the Golden Entity.
Okay, gotcha.
Because the Cyclops Knight's sort of a master weaponsmith.
Okay. And then, so those are for
hence the seed patterns.
Yes, it does. Yeah,
and the crafting table.
Dandelion. Yep. We'll talk about that for a second.
So many layers.
Yeah. Well, what about Labyrinth City
connected.
Too? Labyrinth City have anything to do with?
At the bottom of the. That's unexplored.
Well, there's a huge. I don't know if it's a Cyclopean Forge. It might. I can't remember exact wording now. This is what happens when I do it. We're just talking.
That's okay.
But there's a huge fort at the center of a city.
Yeah.
Is that anything to do with Cyclops Knight?
It could be.
Okay.
But there's nothing specific. There's nothing that specifically tethers to it as far as we've presented to people as of yet.
Okay. But then we'll go back to, so then Gold Smoke Knight, because not being part of Gold Envy or anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like, he shared similar things with Chosens. Like, the way they walk, they leave ashen things behind them, puffs of smoke, their rage is, like, engulfs with flame the way the Chosen. So that was always a connection.
Right.
But it's for sure that it's got its own ideas.
Yeah.
And it's going to the final lanterns, it snuffs them out. So with Gold Smoke Knight and Aya specifically, someone thought that maybe the lantern Aya carried was a final lantern.
It's a Nightmare Lantern.
No,
it's the same lantern.
When she's a child, when she's running away, when she jumps into the box, that lantern's in that box. Is that what attracted the Gold Smoke Knight to her?
That's an interesting connection. I always thought it was just a lantern, personally.
It is just.
It was just drawn as a lantern, yeah. And the Gold Smoke Knight's checking out the box because the gambler has this moment where he
Yeah. So I just wondered if that was always the thing. Is that what that story is displaying? That the Gold Smoke Knight was always going to be after these specific lanterns. Again, the art won't match.
Right. That's an interesting theory.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Oh yeah.
All right, now we're going to go to actual things.
Sure.
I left one thing off here. Let's go back to Snow real quick. In the promo
Savior.
thing for Snow, the Butcher is chasing her.
Yeah.
And the Saviors, yes. Yeah. She was able to open gates and teleport around.
That's it.
All right.
That was a beta.
Sure. And I was just wondering if that was something that would eventually be explored.
No.
It also mentions in the promo thing the Butcher is specifically targeting her because she has found a way to survive the darkness without a lantern.
Again, this is all early beta stuff.
All right.
We just leave that there.
All right.
I don't think there's, anything to extrapolate.
All right. Like I said, I just mentioned
that was not written by myself or Anna. There's someone, dear to us who worked for us, and we're like, we got to get this done. Let's make something. So it's not like, it didn't have the same level of thought or care that things that we, publish do.
Yeah, promo. Yeah, for sure. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
One more thing. With the starting 4 survivors, specifically when you
there is, though, coming up, I just sent the file off to the factory to Tool, so probably next year, there is an Indomitable survivor that does have a form of teleportation.
Oh.
And it is so sick. And I think you're really going to like it.
Oh, wow.
When it comes out.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's not one we've seen, right? It's not a beta.
No, it's a new one. And it has more to do with the king.
Oh, more to do with the king. Okay. That makes sense. Oh, okay, yeah. So true growth. Okay, yeah.
No.
All right. One more thing. See what happens when I don't use my notes? I forget to.
Take a breather.
So the original starting 4 survivors.
Yeah.
When you made Monster and everything.
Yeah.
Did they play a role in Into the Abyss? Because we know Alistair was the Twilight.
No.
But now Alistair is starting Survivor.
Yeah.
So there was no chance that, I know Snow still appears, she's the Barefoot Waif or whatever. Not specifically Snow, but her art is used.
Yeah.
And the Whitespeaker art is also used.
Yeah. Well, it's the same, potentially the same Whitespeaker.
I was just wondering if they were still represented, like Alistair represented, maybe Zachary was a Forsaker, or maybe Lucy was meant to be a or Urza was meant to be a Whitespeaker. Is Urza a Whitespeaker?
No.
Okay.
No.
I hear a lot of her art always has blood around her.
I think Labyrinth likes to make her look tough.
Okay, yeah, I'm just wondering. It was just a neat thing. It's like it's only specific to her, and there's always that concept of White Secret.
Yeah.
Right? You get told a past life in White Secret. It's kind of like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Right? How that works, where survivors reveal secrets of her.
Well, she shares a story, and the story is layered with knowledge, right?
Yes.
And that knowledge is latent in survivors.
Yeah.
So it unlocks something.
Depicted Urza talking to them.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just wondering if that's what it was meant. Because then maybe all the 4 were the original Starting Spiders might have been the names of the
Right.
class.
No, it
I
wasn't.
just wondered. But speaking to that, Phoenix does that as well, where you get filled with past memories and you gain fighting arts and you age. Is there a correlation that we haven't picked? I mean, there's layers of it there that some sort of like a recycling past life between these survivors.
So I am obsessed with like latent memories, like genetic memories.
Yes.
And it's something that science really doesn't understand or have much of a grip on.
I know you explore it with the echoes and stuff.
Yeah. And like, in reality, we have genetic memories and animals have genetic memories, and it's like kind of wild when you think about the simplicity of like, I got a kitten, it's adorable, how does it know to poop in the box? Mm-hmm. How? Like, what the fuck? Like,
instinctual fear of the dark that we all have.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in a world like KD that, since there's no history, it's impossible to really discern how many times this has happened. So the layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get to it.
Sure.
So now we're jumping off the floor. We're gonna go into all the new stuff, all the expansions. So I talked about Preacher.
Just a few. We could probably talk about Gambler's Chest for like the rest of GenCon alone.
Yeah, we'll try. I mean, I would stand here and talk to you and record it till my batteries died.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
So these are going to be more just read, because these are specific things that are on hit location cards, buried in art, written word for word. I'm going to quote just to say. So the Lionite expansion has a lot of. Now I know he's romanticized and he loves theater and all those things, but his stage terrain.
He wants to be people.
Yeah, but the stage terrain depicts himself on there, because I know he's center stage. It's a lot of nuance. Yeah. But he has a gaping hole in his chest, and one of his hit locations is also Cavernous Heart. Yeah, he has the Cavernous Heart hit location. His stage depicts him with his heart. Even the final of his act, they reach into the hole, the heart and the hole of the statue. So, anything to explore there? I know he's generally genetically created, right? Because he's testing of things. Yeah. And as you were mentioning, even his Ash, Ryan, and Sam.
So the Lionite can't feel feelings.
Oh, he can't. Oh, okay.
None. So it's desperate to see what that's like. That's why it's acting. It's trying to understand through repetition and mimicry what it feels like to feel. You can't feel.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And so that's just the cavernous. That's just representation of him being. Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. No, it's little touches like this. I want to be.
And like, it's funny that like that in particular never made it into like wording. It's just like could be like line 1 of the Lionite book. This monster can't feel feelings, right? Yeah. But I don't know. I think that was when we had the. Kind of the Genesis meeting about him at the office, where like, all right, let's talk about this. How does it work? And we're like, okay, what if he, was a creature that really was endeared by survivors and their short lives and all the things they get up to, but tragically, you can't feel any of that at all. And that was kind of like what the genesis of when that became the expansion.
And then. This is why I started with Lionite, because I originally wanted to end with Holy Lands. Yeah. So the Ash, Ryan, and Sam, they are Holy Landers.
The what?
Are they Holy Landers, Ash, Ryan, and Sam? Oh, they just have the masks?
They're not Holy Landers. They are like scholars under the Lion-Knight's care. If they're Holy Landers, they would have had lobotomy time, so.
Oh, even female ones. Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, that was something I never knew. I figured because they had the mask, and he was created in the Holy Lands, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I just assumed. Oh, well, that's very neat. So he's the one. He's giving them these books to read and everything, right? Yeah. And he's collected it. So does he return to the Holy Lands then, in between Nemesis, or what? Or is he just always out with his caravan?
He probably returns. I would imagine he has a pretty giant collection of historical knickknacks and stuff that he's picked up over the years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the armor sets he feels and everything. Yeah. Awesome. Oh man, we are killing it now. The other one in the Grimy has the same kind of thing. Is he the same thing? He just can't feel. Grimy is depicted as having
it's just a goth.
Oh, okay.
Just a goth guy at heart,
Sure. Well, he finally found love, right? He's got Morgan now.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so great. I just want to add, like, when you explore all that stuff, I know Lockwood does it for fun too. It's so great, his art that we always get for the updates.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some amazing piece. I'll probably edit it to here with the Kickstarter update and everything. But the way how much of that is actual lore and how much is just having fun? I know the bathtub and stuff, but I mean, there's sometimes...
I would say it's like, you know, things that are pretty on the nose with some like artistic license, right?
Yeah.
Like we had Bjorn and Elsbeth running away from the frog dog in the swamp, and they're passing pariah statues, and then one of the pariah statues has the, you know, the like fire hat on it from the Inferno snake fighter, right?
Yeah.
And like I'd say pretty much all that's canon, except for probably the hat on top of the statue.
Right.
That one's about, you know, but like we're having fun with it. And that's what's fun about those pieces of artwork is I look at what's being released and I think, how are all these characters actually related in the game world? And if we're going to commission the art, I don't want to make it throwaway. I want to make it meaningful. So I like think about it and we discuss what it could be. Especially like with the Goth Twilight Knight meeting Aya like on the beach.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. All right. Now, because since you mentioned it, there's lots of Twilight Knight.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you just don't want to commit to saying it's Allison, or is there just multiples of their Twilight Knight?
What do you mean commit to?
Because sometimes there's like Kingslayer Allison.
Yeah.
Is a white box.
It's all Allison.
It's all Allison.
It's all Allison.
Yeah, I was just wondering because sometimes it's like Lunar Twilight Knight.
Yeah, but that's like her dressed up for a festival that a particular settlement is having. That I met up for her.
No, yeah, I was.
And I met her because she's after the key, because she's on the way to get the Death Crown. Yeah. Like the fun of the releases is it forces me to look at that moment in time and think about what the relationships of the characters actually are, and then show a piece of that. So it's not just, you know, it's not just like coincidence. It's not like, oh, we're just releasing these things, here you go. You know, it lets me layer and build and tell more about the story overall.
Right. Talk about it since now you've said all that.
Yeah.
Morgan, when she released, she's appears to be just a starting survivor. She's laying up in that artwork show, and there's a Kingsman right next to her. Yeah. Now in the last Campaigns of Death grand overview, Black Friday when we went over all of it, and you showed, I forget the word, the node card or whatever it was, the node cards that add saviors to any campaign. It was named Undiscovered Savior. Yeah. So does that artwork, the fact that it says Undiscovered Savior, and she is a starting survivor, and we know the Scribe is involved with that. Are you trying to say, are Kingsmen out there calling survivors specifically saviors before they wake up to be starting survivors? Is that what it is? Because you mentioned it was canon. That was the only thing I could take away from that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So the saviors. So are they like are they counter? Are they opposed to what the Scribe's doing? Like, is something meddling? Is that a way of meddling? I'm going to put a savior here because they're originally, I think, they see themselves as heroes. That's why they're saviors, right? Yeah. Whether or not they are,
I mean, like the word used as "this is a hero" now in Monster means a very different thing than like I'm heroic. And I am doing, you know, good for my people, so to speak. Hero will evolve into something that is physically different about a character. Okay. So a savior, while, you know, supposed to be a hero class, doesn't necessarily have the genetic difference that a hero does. Right? Yeah.
So I was going to ask about, speaking of genetic difference, because at the end of the Gambler's Chest, we see the Scribe tooling away, doing its work. So if there really is an undiscovered savior there, is there a genetic difference between a savior and a survivor?
No.
Okay.
There's not.
So it's just like chosen by the Eternal Dreamer then or something?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah.
I think that's all.
I was just wondering, because it shows him making it, right? He's got the rib cage cut open. He's doing whatever it is he's doing in there. Whatever. So I assumed. All right. So what we do?
It's like I want to just tell you because it would be so much clearer, but like.
No, it's okay.
I'm not going to.
It's
like because it's all getting explored, and after the Inverted Mountain, a lot of this will be much more canonized, and it will be more clear.
Okay.
Because there is a world cycle. there is a reason for all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's there. And it's cool, and it's something I've been working on for a long, long time.
Well, I mean, you're doing a good job, because these are all things that I thought were like, they're not super obvious to pick up on some of this.
No, not at all.
And I spent a long time, there's two of us, there's another Discord member, we just go over, we look through all this.
I adore how clever you guys are, and how like it's very validating that the breadcrumbs we leave are received, they're picked up.
Yeah.
And that means that for the people who aren't like deeply analyzing things, who are just playing it at the surface level, their experience is kind of like, I'm swimming in the ocean and having a good time, and I know there's just so much. It's enriching, right? Versus being like, I'm splashing around in the kiddie pool, and this is nice, but there's not much going on.
No, I love it.
Not everyone's going to get the scuba gear on and go deep.
That's true. Yeah, but I mean, I love your approach to it. I made a whole video about your approach to it. Go watch it.
I think I watched it.
I was being camera, but that's cool if you did too. Where it's just your approach is so great to do it, because it leaves open-endedness, and it makes you return to it, makes you want to go back, explore, maybe if I play.
You want to show, not tell.
Yes, exactly.
And in the case of Monster, it's players experiencing.
Yes. And the way, with the faulty narrator, the way you've done it, where you have the second person narrative that you've written, where it requires the player to play, and for them to get the feeling and to know what they've been through to put the pieces together is perfect.
I appreciate that.
Perfect way to go.
Anna would also be really proud.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what I mentioned earlier with the way there's a difference with the Squire campaign, because you're not going to spend so much time with the Squires. Yeah. So you have to give it to you quick. Same with the Killennium. You have to establish that. Yeah. So it's neat to have both, and I'm glad we have both. It's really explored, because it's after playing Squires, I'm hyped for Inverted Mountain. But there's so much more here, and if you're
fun to make a villain. Fun to make a villain.
Yeah. If we're going to answer all these, we got to go.
Yeah. It's 5.
The lore that was given for Atlas during the Kickstarter. I think it was actually you asked. You recently answered this in one of your Q&As. Okay. This was the cubing thing, where he was cut up, and then you mentioned maybe you'll explore it again in the vignette. So that's with the cube, but once we've gotten the Gambler's Chest now, and we've seen, why can't I remember the constellation? Regalism. Yeah. With Stormlord.
Regalism's sick.
Yeah, with Stormlord.
I love all the art in that. If you end up watching this, you did such a good job. So glad. So glad we're working with you.
So Stormlord, can you clarify the relationship between the Stormlord and Atlas, or just might even Storm Knight? I think Regalism used Stormlord as the affirmation knowledge. It said you see the Stormlord, but normally I think in other like the constellations and stuff.
So this is so far off from us being able to develop it. I don't mind just dropping spoilers if you're okay with that. Yeah. Okay. Storm Knight has a giant castle that's a sword in the sky. All right. And it holds a tournament, let's just say every 100 years to find who the best sword master is. And Atlas was, one of the winners, and then he trained the Storm Knights in the way of his sword. And this is all like a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I remember this is all that stuff's written in People of the Storm. Yeah. It's on their survival.
On their little bios.
Yes.
Right. And those are the people that live around the sword and have a very insane life cycle.
Yeah. They collect all the weapons that fall down from all the fallen war, and then what is it? When lightning strikes, that means someone died, right? Yeah. And then lights in the sky triggers.
Yeah, and they have these like weird shanties made out of metal weapons and stuff. And yes. So they kind of like worship it. And,
all right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Adams was a champion.
Yeah.
Are there any other ones?
Any other champions?
Yeah.
None that we have hinted at. So as far as the community goes, unknown.
Unknown?
Yeah.
It's kind of a hint of her hand being one, maybe. But yeah.
Swordsman Promise?
Yes. They both the same with Atlas and all that stuff.
So that's definitely a thing, the whole thing.
All right.
Yeah.
But
I would say that Atlas in his heyday was superior to the hand in swordsmanship.
Oh, okay.
No, well, we won't see that because.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Hand can't do swordcraft.
Yeah.
This question's amazing because I saw your display. And thank you for that. For bringing cancer pigeons.
Yes.
Cancer Pigeons was depicted multiple times within Kingdom Death in the artwork. First in the Collector's Story 1, which the Collector's Story 1 is the Manhunter in like the Killing Fields. I guess I thought it was called Killing Fields, but I guess it's called Collection Story 1. So that's the Manhunter with they look like vultures kind of.
Yep.
And then it's also on the Old Master.
Yep.
It's also on Final March.
Yep.
The Hanged Man.
Yep. The Hanged Man has probably their most adorable depiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Finale as well, which that's Lionite.
Yeah.
Finale. And now here.
Yeah.
In the case.
They're real. They're out there.
So,
They're also mentioned in the hunt event.
Yes, the Cancer Pigeon hunt event.
Yeah.
But in the artwork, because the impairment you get is dead inside from the Cancer Pigeons. So it's suggesting that they want to be witnesses to either death or some passing of knowledge, like a great secret being told. And also tied to the Homelands, because it's Manhunter and Lionite that they're showing up on.
They're kind of part of the biome.
So what's with the Cancer Pigeons?
To be explored.
All right, to be explored.
There was an artist that made a really cool piece of illustration, and I have been trying to license it from him so I could do a grand Cancer Pigeon.
Oh, nice.
And for a little while, he was like, I'm totally gung-ho. But then during pandemic, like I just lost contact. So I don't know if they're okay. I hope they are. But if I can't manage to license that, we're gonna have to draw something ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Because this was, as a New Yorker,
I would like to eventually make a proper monster out of the grand version of whatever the Cancer Pigeons are.
All right.
And then to explore it that way.
Yeah. Because as a New York, the thing is, the pigeons are secret spies.
Yeah.
And is that the meme? Is that why they're all? Is that a hint towards that?
I would say that it's more. You know what? Let's leave that. Let's leave the conspiracy for now. We'll see where it goes when we explore.
Because the theory is they're all collecting secrets from.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They've tapped into the 5G I got when I got my booster.
Oh, I'm so glad you know of that one, and so are the people who wanted me to ask you that. So I did ask it. What do we got here? Oh, the Cloak Stranger basic hunt events. That is. It stands out in contrast to so many of the other hunt events.
There's a lot of people that show up.
Yes, and that one is just when comparing to the other 100. Aside from Finale, for them to run into something like that, like what is it? Or I don't have to tell us what it is, but like. Why is it so different? Like survivors being able to talk to something and something actually talking back. Is there a reason, or?
I mean, it's all about the Cloak Stranger, you know?
Because it's got like a bug arm, right?
Yeah.
Underneath the hood, and it's like floating too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I was just wondering, maybe something.
There are definitely things in the world that are smart enough to pick up language like near instantly.
Mm-hmm. So because Tyrant can teach you speak and do all that stuff. So he has Tyrant speak and all that. So here's an interesting one. This one's cool. The Lamplighter that we got in Gambler's Chest. Lamplighter has been mentioned twice.
Yeah.
It's in the core game settlement event, Stranger in the Dark, where it comes and visits your settlement and it lights your lantern for you and gives you bonuses. And then in the new one, the Gambler's Chest, it's the settlement event itself it appears in when it just wipes you all out. And it says it's been sleeping for thousands of years. So, are they the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, there's another question.
It's like different parts of its cycle.
Okay. So, when the Lamplighter itself, there was also the hunt event, the hunt phase artwork.
Oh, the guys, the cloak.
The one that's holding like a little lantern, like that.
Yeah.
Like, is that the Lamplighter? Is that
the artwork for the showdown section?
Is it the showdown section? There's one where
it's just like the silhouette.
Yes, it's just
that's the Lamplighter.
Is it the Lamplighter? It looks exactly like him from the settlement. Okay, so they are.
And then also on the scout page is there underground.
Underground, yeah. That's a great art. Oh man, I love
it so much.
It's the screen like motif.
Well, it's like it's Van Gogh, Starry Night.
Starry Night. Yeah. My bad. That's the wrong one. It's very cool. All right, so we got Lamplighter out of the way. Substalker expansion, the Horizon Man, Stranger in the Dark. We just talked about the Castle in the Sky, but there's also water in the sky.
In some parts, yeah.
So, and then a Kickstarter comment you recently made, or it might have been a Q&A, but you reference, how did you write it?
Probably
bodies of water with odd gravity have been known to float by settlements.
Yeah.
So I just want to note, like, how
they're the sky fishing.
Is it like, what's happening there? Because I know, sky fishing, and the new beta, so cool. I'm so glad. Is that going to be a thing going forward? Revisit original art? Because it kind of, I remember Rippocratus kind of looked. Is he influenced by the artwork of
the Hunt event?
Yes.
Oh, the Hunt
phase art. Hunt phase artwork.
Yeah.
Is that Rippocratus? Inspiration.
It's inspiration from.
Yeah.
It's not quite as on the nose as Mellow the Sky Fisher.
Yeah. So is that, go back and visit old
we've been doing
artwork?
more of that.
Oh yeah, because that's really cool. I'm so glad to see it. I really like Mellow. She's really cool. So that's just specific pockets of water that they're getting with sky fishing?
Yeah.
And not the whole sky, right?
No.
Because the whole sky is in Dragon King.
Yeah,
right.
And you see it open up.
Yeah, it's also at the end of Millennium.
Yeah.
The faces in the sky. And those are entities looking down, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk about that too. Recently, there's been multiple releases of the starting survivors living different lives, which would be Barbarian Lucy, Arc-like Lucy, Questing Lucy, and Screaming Lucy, People of the Nest Lucy. This implies that there are multiple iterations of survivors out there living their lives. Is that what it's meant to be picked up on?
No, not particular, but it's more like everyone starts with starting survivors.
Yeah. And
so they're kind of like...
The mascot, are they just your mascot?
Yeah, they're characters that there could be lots of iterations of them, because there's lots of people playing the game.
Yes.
Right? But as far as like canonically what those characters get up to exactly, it's more loose than that, you know?
Right. Yeah,
like,
because there are...
So depicting, and it's also different depending on the model. Like Questing Lucy, that's for fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun piece, very akin to, awesome old wizard miniatures.
Yeah.
They got the classic, arms out pose.
Yeah.
That's for fun. That's okay. But then you look at People of the Nest Lucy, and that's like saying, what happens if they started here instead of starting, where players are more familiar?
Is the Scribe always involved?
No. Because he's not involved with the gambler.
Yep, we're going to talk about that. We're just going to go right to it. We're going to go right to that. So, we're going right into it now.
Okay.
Game I want to talk about it. Perfect Punt.
Yeah.
This Perfect Punt, the event itself hints that he's putting survivors in there, punting them.
From the ball.
Yes, yeah. From dreamers, whatever they be, putting them in there, arc survivors.
Yeah.
Putting them in the ball, hunting them.
Yeah.
And then they go on and live their lives.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Starting a fresh cycle, as you just mentioned, because Scribe's not always involved.
Yeah.
Is that meant to be the actual method of arc survivors?
Like how they exist?
Yes, because there's been with Frog Dog.
Yeah.
Frog Dog has a.
They don't they start without the ink around their eyes.
Yeah, but Frog Dog doesn't have a when you do Frog Dog to start your campaign, he devours the White Lion. So the White Lion shows up, and those survivors, are they in the ball, or is he just showing up and killing a White Lion like normal White Lion?
If you're playing non-arc survivors and you have a Frog Dog in your campaign, a Frog Dog who is dwelling in a slightly subterranean pond has decided it's going to go eat this White Lion who's currently busy hunting another prey.
Okay, yeah.
If you and there's a piece of artwork in the rule book that depicts
him eating from the box.
Open the box.
Yes.
Right. So those are, two different starting points for survivors.
That's the question, because it didn't have its own individual events.
One of the survivors are, again, something with the Scribe. The ink is poured into their eyes, and they are left by the Kingsmen.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yes.
For reasons, right? And the other ones are put in the box by the gambler and then punted, hopefully somewhere where it's safe enough so that the cycle can renew. So the gambler tried to just ham-fist his way through the promise he made. It was a fucking disaster. We explored that through luck. So the gambler was like, all right, well, that doesn't work. Unfortunately, in order for me to fulfill my promise, these survivors kind of have to get there on their own.
Oh, okay. Was that because it was a bet, right? He made a bet.
He made a bet
with some entity. Is it said what entity?
I don't it's hinted at who it is, but it didn't say specifically.
Through the end, is it with Scribe because the page falls out? Is that like the closing of the chapter? Is that what that's hinting?
He made a bet. There's, I think.
Is it the curator? That was also hinted too.
The hint is in the Dreamism philosophy book.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say specifically because we will get there.
Yeah. So that is the way that Ark survivors don't regenerate without boxes.
Currently, no.
Yeah.
But if there were, if there was a successful enough Ark survivor settlement, they would spread and they would start. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the genesis point.
Yeah. Same.
And very specifically, they come from the ball the gamblers hold it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And going to that same theme, you're either going to love this or just no.
Okay.
With Perfect Hunt, the artwork shows this green mist coming over it and everything.
Okay.
So this punt, is it and it's called the recurrent story.
Yeah.
Is this an example of the gambler test trialing? Right, is him punting back and then making their way back to him? Is it supposed to display an experiment? Right?
Yeah.
How strong can these ones get back? How many times can we do this?
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
How many iterations? Is it just thousands down the line? Yeah, countless.
Yeah.
With the green mist, is that like a clinging mist? Because clinging mist is green and that resets your settlement. Is he using that to do this?
In that particular illustration, it's just coincidence.
It's just coincidence.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'm wondering if it's some kind of time.
No, there's no time manipulation happening there. It's still a singular timeline. It's trying over and over and over again. Yeah.
It was meant to be. We don't know if he's trying again using green mist or if it is really depicting multiple attempts.
It's just multiple attempts. Yeah.
All right. So we have did this one. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Typically, time manipulation is the Phoenix, and it's the Phoenixes alone. If you see things or are wondering if other places in the game are getting timey-wimey, they're not.
It's just Phoenix alone.
Phoenix alone.
So, because it was originally said in the original Kickstarter, when you put the huge gambler up there, and then to explain his differing appearance. So is it still, it said, this is the same entity, I'm again paraphrasing.
Yeah.
This is the same entity that you encountered in the core game just thousands and thousands of years later.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it is. So he just bulked up, he yoked up.
You had to carry this ball.
Yeah. But it is the same one.
Same one.
So it is. So canonically, Savior or settlements from the core game and Gamblers, People of Dreamer, there's vast time difference in between that.
Yeah, I'd say about 7 years.
Bravo.
And I don't know how many people ran settlements, but around that many,
Yes, times, yes.
Yeah.
Bravo. I like it. So that is interesting. I really like the fact that it is like I know you really like the. It's not magic. It's science. It's grounded in reality. And the fact that you're depicting and showing us experimentation, repeating, is so cool. I really like it.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with the green mist would have been cool too, but it's cool to see that.
That's in the hand waving territory. Oh, it's the green mist, no.
Yeah.
And the clinging mist, they just get lost.
Yes.
They're just lost.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not a reset. There's no time rewinding. They just couldn't find their settlement and found another one at the beginning. We're like, oh, okay, well, we continue.
Yep. All right, let's go. Oh, here we go. Oh, man. So, Whitespeakers.
I love how excited this is making you.
I get so excited because it's like, man, it's a level of detail that is so shrouded that when you talk about it as community and stuff, it's like, it's coincidence. Like, it's stuff like this. All the isms, there's specific, all the philosophies end with ism.
Yeah.
Except for one philosophy that is championed. And then which one of the two was not an ism. It's for the Black Friday. Gatherism, heliocentrism, and I can't remember the name of the third off the top of my head.
Wasn't it Starbound?
Starbound, yes, it is Starbound. So that one's not an ism either. Both of those represent outside influence into is it into the testing? To what the gambler is trying to do here, into the philosophies, whatever's feeding philosophy knowledge. It seems like Goblin is messing around with Champion.
Yeah, it's like a representation.
The Tyrant is messing in there. So it's outside influence on the minds of survivors.
Yeah.
And is that why they're not isms?
Yeah.
Stuff like that is so cool because that's such a
and that starts as a coincidence, and then we realize it in the office, and we're like, oh well. Yeah, okay, cool.
That's what I mean. It's so hard to pick up because it could just be a coincidence.
But like that's kind of the beauty of the layered storytelling is like recently with the Screaming God, we had to make some decisions on Parasite Queen and how all this relates. Like what's happening here? We've got moving showdown on the run. We got the antelopes chasing the alpha Screaming God, and if the storytelling is layered correctly, the answers just kind of naturally come out. And you're like, okay, well, this is the only thing that makes sense and answers all of the questions we have as we continue to develop it. And then we know what the answers are, and then we kind of pull it back and try to show just the nuggets in the expansions. So it's all there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's probably things that potential fans or people really invested in lore think that we've developed a tremendous amount, but probably haven't touched it all.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's nice to know that like the breadcrumbs will lead, and it's not just coincidence, because then you could have said it's coincidence, and it's like, okay, yeah.
It's kind of ironic that trying to make this game world that doesn't have any history
has so much history.
Has so much layered and very important nuances to it.
Yeah.
When it could have just been like, King Solomon and then King Dandy and, and then the dark times came and the dragons fell.
Well, I mean, there's still layers. There's still some of that, as we saw with Squire campaign. Yeah. So it still happens in the background, which is great. Again,
the Red Witches also have a story event that touch upon the Tyrant and the Forsaker Mask.
Okay, yeah. So real quick, just to wrap.
And they have a story event that touch on Hoylanders.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go into it now too.
Sure.
Because yes, so within Champion, I'm going to talk about all this now. You have multiple story names in there that hint towards other things.
Yeah.
We'll talk about, but before we go into all that, I know we talked about it before, so I was going to say whether or not they're a cult or a coven. I was going to ask if they're the cult of the Goblin, but you said they're more of a, just because of Champion, but you said they're more of a coven. That was the idea.
The nuance of the word is something that we've referred to them as a cult many, many, many times, so I would stick to that. But if the nuance of the word changes, they're cults.
Yeah, so are they directly related to the Goblin then?
Not directly.
Okay, because the Goblin knowledges are all stories.
Yes.
And there's even, like, the artwork in Champion is so evocative.
It's very like Once Upon a Time, fairy tale.
Yeah, but you see that little thing, like, playing in the background. So, and I think it's always like a mirrored reflection too, right? Is that what it's supposed to represent? Because it's the one where you always get the Chosen, the girl is repeated multiple times.
Yeah.
She's in just her veil and everything, like a very Oracle-esque, which is, again, like I was going to say with Whitespeakers, but she's depicted over that all this time. You got that little thing in the background that's like either pulling out its intestines. I don't know what it's doing. You know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
So Yeah, champion is very cool, and I'm glad to hear that it is actually of the goblin. It makes more sense that way.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Let's go with red witches. So they originally were almost wiped out by the Order, the Twilight Order, and that is what that artwork's depicting. Is it that thing?
No.
Oh, okay. Because that is the Grand Library in that old lore.
Yeah, but that's each Whitespeaker has like, this is where we put their secret fighting art. A story that goes back to like the old stuff that I worked on. That now that we've progressed so far, it's kind of like picking up a puzzle piece and fitting it into the bigger tapestry overall.
Yeah.
So I got to like kind of go back to that stuff and look at it and then reincorporate it to where we are now with our storytelling.
Yeah. And so, how much will we ever return to the Order itself? Will we get because there's like Order Weaponsmith, Order Knights. Is there ever a plan to bring them back at some point?
Yeah, Kingdom Death 30K.
Or I mean like a Wanderer or something. Well, yeah, I do. Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of the
that's kind of what it feels like a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now we're focused on just the reality of the projects they have to finish. Mm-hmm. So I'm not thinking about like what to do with telling more of the Order story.
So, Clenny and Butcher.
Yeah.
And Alistair depicted at the end of Clenny and Butcher.
When I penned the initial story for Clenny and Butcher, and Anna was fleshing it out and doing what she does best, which is taking the nonsense chaos writing that I make and turning it into real words that people can understand. And we were putting the kids to bed, and she was humming the Wizard of Oz theme.
Okay.
And I was like, that's interesting. Why are you humming the Wizard of Oz theme? She's like, I've been working on it all day. He's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, she looks at me like I'm crazy, and she's like, if I only had a heart, if I only had a brain. I was like, no. So that was an accidental Wizard of Oz homage.
It works.
Accidental. I was just furiously thinking about the desires of people and the things they might wish on if they had like a cosmic entity.
Yeah.
And like family is an important one, sense of self is an important one, something vain is always an important one.
Yeah.
And it just kind of naturally found the same archetype that's in the movie. Yeah. I was furiously embarrassed.
Oh. Homages are really cool. The story itself is really nice.
Accident. It was an accident.
It happens.
I mean, if I had realized at the time, I wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
It was like, come on, like Brave is right there in front of me. So clearly it was in my subconscious, and I just didn't.
But
I hang my head in shame.
But at way it ends, it culminates with them making the wish and everything.
Yeah.
Right. So that it makes sense. But with the that wish and everything, and the multiple different paths. Now I know you've mentioned there's no time stuff, right?
No.
So do the strains act as like, for lack of a better word, I'm just going to say sacred timeline? Is Brave's ending, since that's the one with the strain, that he does that happens to him, is that what happens?
Canonically?
Yes.
We have, I don't know. That's a reasonable thought. But
the spirit of it.
I don't know.
Or
I think it's okay not to choose one. I think it's okay if all 5 endings are real.
That leads into what I got the follow-up right here if you would have said that.
Because we have a Halloween release that is exploring the ending of one of them a little bit more.
All right, now we're going to my 2 follow-ups. Right, we'll go to the ending of the one. So with the ending of Forgotten specifically is what I'm thinking you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're going to expand more on?
Nope.
All right. So the ending of Aya.
Yeah.
Notice, poor Forgotten. But the ending of Aya. So with that one's already been, because you've hinted with the lore blurbs and stuff. She eventually does get a death crown.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Becomes the leader of a settlement. All those things. It's all been poured out in the shop blurbs for lore. And then she eventually dies.
Yeah.
Now, So she's died multiple times. So I'm just wondering, how does it work? Is there multiple Ayas? There's got to be, because you've got the one in the chest that goes on to do all the Clennium stuff, because it's the same one, starts off right there, goes to do all the settlement, get her death crown and died with her death crown. But then there's the other one that possibly joins your settlement, because you could find a redhead girl inside of the box at the hunt event. She probably dies in your settlement somewhere. The newest one,
or just
has a character.
Someone with a very busy agenda, very busy life.
Sure. But there's also the other Beyond the Wall, where she gets another character card that you showed that we're going to get in Living Card Pack or in the redone versions of those. There's a pillar, no, what is it? Whatever that white box is, I forget what it's called now off the top of my head. But it has the original, the 4 promo survivors.
There's no Aya in there.
No, but in that card pack,
Promos of Death.
Yeah. In the card pack, we're getting character cards and stuff for Allison, and along as those promos of death and stuff.
Yeah.
So that the character cards also reveal she died some other time, right beyond the wall, maybe, or after the wall. So she's got multiple sets of character cards.
She got her legendary character card. Yeah. I don't think I have to double check, but I don't think we promised Aya specifically getting a character card in the promo pack.
I could be wrong, but I thought it's a
think so.
Character card.
Yeah, but not for Aya, for other things.
I thought it was under. I really thought it was under the Savior, not the. I don't remember.
It could be.
I'll have to look.
I don't remember.
Okay, but anyway, so does she have a consistent fluid, one life, one death then?
I mean, the way I'm looking at it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember other places specifically where we mentioned she died.
Well, I know it's definitely mentioned she dies in Indomitable. No, not Indomitable. The Phoenix one. What's it? Death Inheritor.
Death Inheritor crown?
Yes.
Right. She gets the crown. That's kind of the end of her journey. And we're still seeing bits and pieces from the middle of it.
Yeah. Does she go on to live in a settlement with Lucy? Because she's depicted in a hot tub with Lucy. Hell yeah. I have to toss it out there. Because with that same artwork, someone's gifting her a Clennium, or no, a Forsaker thing. I thought maybe it was representative of killing the Clennium Butcher.
The image of the remastered Forsaker artwork.
Yeah. So there's all those like little artwork that's like, oh man, she beats a Lucy somewhere? Last one. Where did I have it on?
It got to be, unfortunately, a little quick because I have to be on the other side of the air wall before it closes.
Yep. So, Void Fabric. Void Fabric. All kinds of stuff into that in Gambler's Chest. I just want to ask, Twilight Knights use Void Fabric? Watchers are made of Void Fabric? Because you get it from the Twilight Knight seats, specific things. Kings are wrapped in Void Fabric as well. So what does it conceal? Like, how powerful is it? Because it contains their whole universe inside of them.
It doesn't contain their universe. Well, it makes it so that their ability to absorb sound instead of light is dampened. Okay. Because otherwise, every little piece of sound would power them up.
Yeah. So what is that inside of the king then? Is that representative of teleportation, as you were saying? When you go in there, you go to.
I'm out of time. I got to get to the other side of that wall.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Couldn't have been better. I'll see you tomorrow.
Seriously, thanks for being a fan. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, I love it.
It's not just me.
It's wonderful. Hear your excitement.
Yeah. There's other fans that all help me put all this together. Multiple fans love all the lore you're doing. So, thank you for making it. It's a great story being told.
I'm glad that you were enjoying it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so a fan, Lena, came up and gave this to me. It's super cute, and I just want to say thank you again. You know, totally made my day. It's adorable. I love it.
It is pretty neat. I was going to ask you about it. Very cool. Again, so thank you so much, Poots. Thank you for making this game. Thank
my
you for
pleasure.
Making all this awesome stuff.
Thanks for supporting us. Letting us continue.
Yeah, for our super thick GenCon releases, stack of cards I had to go through to look at all that stuff. Not just thick because it's Lanternaya.
It's power, you know?
Yeah. Again, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out to see us. Thanks for making me feel like a rock star for a few days. I'm going to take all these wonderful feelings and remind myself of it when things get tough at work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.